For more free videos, go to zeroxbilliards.com. All the videos are organized so learning the game of pool has never been easier. From fundamentals to kicking, banking, breaking, and cue ball control, we have all the videos you need to supercharge your game. Now we're going to go through some of the most common safeties played by the top players in the world. In this first example, this is a safety you'll see played quite often by top players. The player is on the 7 and doesn't have a good shot on it, but the 8 ball is near the other corner, which will make a great place to hide the cue ball. This shot requires a draw stroke with reverse spin. Since the cue ball naturally wants to go left after striking the end rail, then he needs to use right spin. And once the cue ball hits a side rail with reverse spin, the cue ball ends up dying behind the blocker ball. And you can see the difference when I use left spin, or running English in this case. The cue ball takes off once it hits a side rail. A good exercise to get familiar with this type of shot is to start off with the cue ball close to the object ball. Put a blocker ball near the corner and practice trying to land the cue ball behind this ball. Then gradually move the cue ball farther away as the shot gets easier for you. In this safety, the player wants to shoot the 3 and move the cue ball over an inch or two to hide behind the 5 ball. And the less the cue ball has to travel, the more the object ball you'll have to hit. When attempting these shots, you have to remember 2 things. This is basically a stop shot. It's the same stroke as if you were going to stop the cue ball here. But when you shoot this shot, you're going to be hitting about 95% of the object ball. And by not hitting the object ball full, it moves the cue ball to the right behind the 5. Set up a similar shot and find the line both balls are on. Here, both the cue ball and object ball are on this line, which goes to this spot on the side rail. Now if I just aim a hair to the left of this target, the cue ball will be sent to the right. So set up simple safeties like this and practice putting the cue ball behind the blocker ball. If you're mishitting the shot, keep track of what the cue ball is doing. If the cue ball is running away, that means you need to strike the object ball fuller. Here I've lined up the cue ball and object ball toward the second diamond. I'll put a blocker ball right next to the object ball. Now I'm going to aim the object ball just to the left of the second diamond. Do this a few times and then move the blocker ball to the other side of the object ball. Now aim just to the right of the second diamond. Be aware of your speed since you want the object ball to stay near the rail. Here's another safety that uses reverse spin to kill the cue ball. I'm on the 5 and I need to put the cue ball behind the 6. If I use reverse spin, which in this case is right spin, the cue ball will die when it comes off the side rail and settle behind the 6. This shot takes a little practice, so try setting up easier safeties. Here I've set up a row of stickers and I'll put the cue ball on the first sticker. Now once I can perform this safety consistently, I'll move on to the next sticker. Eventually you want to work your way up to longer versions of this shot. One of the most common types of safeties that top players play is shooting an object ball and rolling the cue ball forward behind another ball. For instance, in this layout, the player is on the 5 ball and he doesn't really have a good shot on it. But the 6 ball would make a great blocker ball for the cue ball. So in this shot, he's going to shoot above center and strike about 95% of the object ball. This shot doesn't require much force, just a nice soft stroke above center. It takes a few shots before you can get a feel for how much of the object ball you need to hit. And you can start off with easier versions of this safety. For instance, here I'll be shooting the 5 and rolling forward behind the 6. And this is just a nice soft stroke. Once you get a feel for this shot, move on to shots like this where the cue ball has to travel farther to hide behind the blocker ball. This is a safety that top players will play every once in a while. The player doesn't have a shot on the 5, but if he shoots straight at it with high action, he can send the 5 ball up table and leave the cue ball behind the 6 and 7. And the reason top players like this safety is because it puts distance between the cue ball and object ball, in case the cue ball leaks out and you let them see the object ball. Here's a shorter version of this shot. You'll be striking the 6 ball full with high action. And your goal is to send the 6 ball toward the left side rail and put the cue ball behind the 7 and 8. Keep shooting the shot until you can develop a feel for it, then move on to the longer version of this shot. In 9 ball or 10 ball, you're often going to get little clusters near the rack area. So you'll often see top players perform this type of shot. Here, the player is on the 4 ball, but he doesn't really have a good shot on it. But just by hitting the 4 ball thin with center high, the cue ball will naturally go 3 rails behind this group of balls. The key to this shot is striking the object ball thin. Here I'm going to sticker up the object ball and cue ball. Now my goal is to get the cue ball behind the rack. And this shot requires a very thin hit and takes a little bit of practice. If you don't strike the object ball thin enough, the cue ball will end up above the rack. Set this shot up until you can perform it consistently over and over again. In this safety, we want the cue ball to end up below the cluster, but we're at this angle on the 4 ball. But using low right, I can send the cue ball to the end rail, then the side rail, and back down below the cluster. Since we're using spin, this shot takes a great deal of practice, so you'll want to gradually work your way up to this distance. Here I've put the cue ball right next to the object ball. Once I can get consistent from this distance, I'll start moving the cue ball farther away. Here's another variation of this shot. In this safety, my goal is to bank the 4 to this end rail and leave the cue ball behind the cluster. So I'll be shooting this shot with center left. And once the cue ball strikes the end rail, the left spin moves the cue ball toward the side rail and back up table behind the 6 and 8. And your main focus in this shot is to make sure the 4 ball ends up below the 5 and 7. So set up just the cue ball and object ball. Your goal is to get the object ball near the second diamond on the end rail, and your cue ball should end up near the second diamond on the other end rail. If you struggle at this, move the cue ball closer to the object ball until the shot becomes easier. To watch more free videos like this one, we set up a page that is filled with free videos covering every aspect of pool. All the free videos are organized by topic, so learning this great game of pool has never been easier. I put a link in the description that takes you directly to this webpage.